With Minnesota Vikings veterans reporting today and the first practice tomorrow, Vikings training camp is officially upon us. Now, there's a lot of questions about what new head coach Kevin O'Connell, how he's going to run his camp in his first year as the leader of the Purple, especially versus previous seasons under former head coach Mike Zimmer. So Kevin O'Connell sat down with ESPN NFL Nation's Kevin Seifert, who is not Carl Gerbschmidt. He is not. And he talked about how he's going to be running camp. We want to go through a couple of those excerpts. Also, I mean, so I digress here, but the Ernest movies, like, they were made slightly before my time as a kid, but I watched a bunch of them growing up. They were fantastic. They were harmless, empty calorie laughs. Jim Varney, rest in peace, was phenomenal. Plus, look at all these movies. Ernest goes to camp. Ernest saves Christmas. It must view holiday. You know what I mean, Vern? That's right. Ernest going to jail. He did not hang himself. Ernest Scared Stupid was one of the greatest Halloween movies out there. Just spoiler alert: the trolls just wanted love, and also milk kills them for some reason. Anyway, yeah. So getting into some of this talk, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell. There is no Wizard of Oz behind the curtain somewhere, right? So it did feel like Zimmer, who is from the Bill Parcells tree, and Bill Parcells famously was one of the master manipulators, playing mind games with his players all the time, especially Phil Simms, his quarterback. And it did feel like we've noted this throughout the years. It does feel like Zimmer, tried to play mind games with his players, but it didn't fly. Whereas Kevin O'Connell came from the Belichick tree. And yes, Belichick came from the Bill Parcells tree, except they were completely night and day, water and oil. I think Belichick sort of learned what not to do with Parcells. Belichick was very much a by-the-book, do-your-job type of guy. And then O'Connell also played under Rex Ryan, who was a what-you-see-is-what-you-get type dude. And Sean McVay, of course, is a, hey, we're just going to do this and this and this, and we're going to win. Ed Sheeran out there getting some W's. So I do think that I do respect Kevin O'Connell's no-nonsense approach. I think the players will too. So a couple of these excerpts here. Mind games are part of all coaching levels, blah, 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 but early signs suggest O'Connell prefers to avoid them. Quote, I just feel like it's part of empowering our team. From the first day I set foot in this building, I talked about player ownership. They can't own something that they're not completely in understanding of. I just feel like you communicate intentions of what you're trying to get done. You have a clear-cut plan. You give these guys the why behind everything you do, and then it's remarkable how easy it is to connect with them and coach them hard from there because they understand it. And yeah, I do agree with that. Where, bad analogy here, but coaches and players, is it a bit like parents and kids? Sure, because there's no quicker way for your kid to tune you out than to give them something to do and say, and then they ask why, and then you say, because I told you so, right? Because you haven't built up that trust and relationship. But if you explain to them, hey, this is why we're doing this is why you're brushing your teeth so that you don't have rotten teeth, and so that daddy doesn't have to pay $18,000 for braces, then they okay. We understand that why. And with coaches and players, as opposed to saying, hey, it's my way or the highway, blah, 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 blah. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Can't make the club in the top, that whole thing. Whereas laying it out, hey, these are the steps. This is what we need to do to get better today. We need to do this, we need to do that, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do the other thing. And if we do this, if we do X, we'll get Y, and then we'll get to Z. They understand it. They understand it. Then guess what? After you build up that relationship and that trust, then you can have some moments where it's just like, hey, we need to do this. And then they trust you. They trust you that you have the team and their best interests in mind. He continued, there's no Wizard of Oz behind a curtain somewhere. It's, here's the plan for the week. We have to get this, and this done. That's exactly what I said. Here's how we're going to do it. And then you got to be able to have the tough conversations when you don't. You say, we didn't do the things that we need to do, so this is why we have to alter and change. It's not because of some old trick or some philosophy thing. It's just we're trying to get done some things that need to get done. And that's exactly it, where you need to have a clear-cut expectations where, hey, players need to know, like, hey, we need to do this, and here is the expectation, as opposed to it being nebulous, as opposed to just putting arbitrary, subjective things out there. It's like, hey, work hard. Hey, do this. Hey, win that. Where, as opposed to, hey, we're going to do this for 90 minutes. We have to do these drills. This is our standard. This is what we're looking for in this category, etc. And then players know what to shoot for, as opposed to just being, did we succeed today? I don't really know. He continued. The CBA, for example, gives new coaches an extra 2 weeks at the front of the offseason program, but O'Connell used only 2 of them. Only one of them nailed it. His tentative training camp schedule features 11 full padded practices, the NFL maximum is 16. So, yeah, he's not like Matt Eberflus at Kia Toilet, already getting after it, full contact in the offseason work. Costing him draft picks, man. It's tough. But O'Connell also gave them the final Friday of mandatory minicamp off. And a lot of times coaches will do this elaborate thing where, the players will get dressed and then they'll be in their PT gear and then they'll be in the meeting room and then guess what? Hey, we're going bowling today. No, he's just like, hey, we're having the day off. We're having a barbecue. We're hanging out. That's exactly what Kevin O'Connell did. And I love that. And I think that the players love that too. O'Connell says much of his practice planning is based on sports science. He hired Tyler Williams as executive director of player health to overhaul the team's medical staff, and players said the difference was clear this spring. Veteran cornerback Patrick Peterson said he never felt better at the end of an off-season program. No doubt about it, P Squared says. My body feels great. Guys ask me all the time, does it feel like I'm in year 12? No, it really doesn't. I don't know if it's been this off-season, the way coach has been taken care of, or just the sports science in general, but you see the team is really taking the necessary steps to making sure guys are on the field on Sundays when we need them. And Zimmer famously, he liked to get after it in training camp. He was definitely a coach of his time, and he's coaching from back in the day where you got after. You had 2-a-days, you had 3-a-days, you had full contact drills, you had Oklahoma drills, you had all that stuff, right? Zimmer trying to make a Junction, Texas out here with Junction Boys, right? But Kevin O'Connell is from the new school where they are blending sports science, where they do stress recovery, where they do stress, hey, as opposed to run your ass off, take a salt tablet, no water's for silly nannies, and then also you just get out there and just give it your all. That whole thing, right? Recovery is important because guess what? Late in fourth quarters, you need your players to be fresh. Late in the season, into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl, you need your players to be fresh. And it all starts out in training camp. Like, how many times have you seen a team just go full bore in training camp, full-on padded practices, just getting after it, and then they're ground down by week 6? And players, both physically and mentally, are exhausted midway through the season. So I do love and respect what Kevin O'Connell is doing in this spot. And then, Eric Kendricks talked about whether subconsciously or by design, NFL teams often hire coaches whose approaches differ starkly from their predecessors. Former coach Mike Zimmer was known for conventional physical practices. By the end of his tenure, the culture of the organization was fear-based, linebacker Eric Kendricks said in January. Suffice it to say, O'Connell's approach appears far friendlier, both on and off the field, and will ask players to take their share of responsibility. Now, of course, the old school people will be like, well, I just treating them like mamby-pambies, and that's going to carry over to the field. Not necessarily, because if you treat your players like grown-ass men, if you treat them like professionals, like, hey, take care of your body, you already know your assignments, you already know how to hit, you already know how to tackle, you already know how to do all this stuff, you already know how to get physical when the time calls for it. Like, hey, you've been playing football your entire life. Like, you've been playing big-time games in high school and college and in the NFL your entire life. And, hey, if I need you to just clang and bang and put yourself at physical risk in August to be able to get you to play good football this season, you're in the wrong profession. I'm in the wrong profession. Everyone is. So again, keeping these guys fresh, especially a team that has a lot of veterans like Patrick Peterson, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins, it's going to pay dividends. So I do like the approach that Kevin O'Connell is taking with camp, but we'll see how this thing pans out. Your thoughts are thoughts. ESPN talking to Kevin O'Connell about his first training camp and his approach. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.